Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today's guest is an incredible woman whose life is a testament to resilience, creativity, and the courage to rebuild your voice. Rebecca Magnuson is a singer, songwriter, playwright, concert pianist, entrepreneur, and advocate whose life has taken her from a child piano prodigy to the Nashville singing songwriting community and also to being a powerful voice for women who have survived abuse. After enduring years of physical, emotional, and financial abuse, Rebecca is doing her one-woman musical called She Sings and her documentary series called She Sings, Surviving the Narcissist. So we're going to be talking to her about everything that she's up to and going to be up to and about that musical and documentary. So Rebecca, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I am presently in Nashville, Tennessee, right now, and I have been dividing my time between New York and Nashville. I also have run a nonprofit up in Western New York because I spent my high school years up there. It's called She Is Safe. And so that has taken some of my time being up there as well. But since 2018, I have been touring a one-woman show that I wrote. I went through quite a bit in my life and was raised in Brooklyn, New York, one of six kids. My father was a minister. And unfortunately, as kids, we went through, I call it religious abuse, where the Bible is used as a weapon almost to give people in authority the right, in their opinion, of to be able to hurt kids. And ours was not a sexual thing, it was physical. We were just beat up quite often because we had to be perfect as preachers' kids. So that was the where I started out, but then moved to through high school. I moved to Western New York. We moved out of Brooklyn, and that's where I've been running the nonprofit. But I've been touring this one woman show where it starts about the abuse from childhood and how oftentimes we repeat as women. We often will repeat the pattern of abuse. So we might endure that during our childhood, and then we tend to later in life, as we're growing up, pick partners who are also abusive, maybe not physically. In my situation, mine was moving forward, it was more the emotional, the verbal attacks, and the financial abuse. Uh, so that is the goal of the musical. And then, of course, you mentioned my five-part television documentary that has not been released yet. We're currently in talks with a few different platforms. So we should have a decision here pretty soon. It should be coming out as well. But the goal with everything that I do is to help people heal through the music that I write, help educate them as to the telltale signs of narcissism and people who are abusive. Oftentimes, they're the most charming, beautiful people, and we get connected to them because they target us. And then we don't see what those signs are. So we try to educate people and then empower them because my story is not all about my past. My story really is about the empowerment and having moved past it all and living a full, rich, wonderful life. So there you go. That's it all in a nutshell.
All right. Well, I know that you were a child piano prodigy and you went to train under a renowned concert pianist,
Yes.
Ozen Marsh. So
Yes.
talk about how those experiences shaped the artist and woman that you have become.
Yes. So when my mother played for Billy Graham Crusades. And she was playing at a crusade, and my father was a young preacher, and he saw her up on stage and pursued her and ended up marrying her. But she was a concert pianist. So every night, as a little girl, I would listen to my mother practice. All of us kids would go to bed about 8 o'clock, and it was so peaceful for me having lived in this abusive environment. That was like my place of peace, was listening to my mother play Warsaw Concerto, Rhapsody in Blue, Chopin etudes. I mean, she was just amazing. And that influence started so young, where I started playing when I was 3 years old, and by third grade, I was the church pianist. And in my dad's church, my mother was the organist. And then moving forward, the reason I became the musician, the pianist that I am today, I believe is because I knew that if I was at that piano, my father would not hurt us. If I was playing, he was calm and he would lie on the couch and relax. And if so, I always felt that if I continued to play, I could keep him from hurting any of my siblings. I know that sounds crazy, but it's really what shaped me as a pianist. And once I got to high school, we moved to this town in Chautauqua County where there's a place called Chautauqua Institution, and it's open only during the summers. 7, 8, 9,000 people a week come there, and it's really a art center. And that's where I received scholarships to work with Ozan Marsh, who was a world-renowned concert pianist. And I'm beyond honored, and I'm still, it's amazing to me that I was offered that opportunity, because that's when I really started playing, 6, 7 hours a day. I was playing piano, and it was it was life changing, and I credit him with so much of my musicianship today.
Well, I know that your journey took you from classical piano to classical piano and music education to songwriting in Nashville, where your work was signed by major publishers. So, talk about what you learned about the music industry that ultimately inspired you to create She Sings Publishing and take control of your creative vision.
Yeah, so I moved here, hard to even fathom this, but 30 years ago, I left everything. I was modeling in New York. I had a piano studio where I was teaching piano. And I just realized that what I really wanted to do was have a voice, because I had been left voiceless for so many years. And I wanted to tell my story through song. And I knew that Nashville was a great place to do that. And I didn't know one soul here. 30 years ago, I got on a plane from DC, came to Nashville to visit, and immediately said, I just knew this is where I needed to be. And within a month, I sold my studio. I stopped the work in New York. I continued to do some work in New York, but overall, I came here, and for 1 year, I didn't work. I had enough money that I was able to just immerse myself completely in the songwriting community. And the reception here, back then it was a lot easier, I think, to meet legendary songwriters and to collaborate with them. So I immediately had the opportunity to write with people like legendary songwriter Hall of Fame Bobby Braddock. By the way, I'm having dinner with him this evening, and he wrote probably the greatest country song ever. He stopped loving her today. I don't know if you know that song, but he wrote God is Great, Beer is Good, People Are Crazy, Time Marches On, all these hits. Um, and I started writing with people like him, like Fred Kohler, and just gathered a bunch of girlfriends around, and we would start co-writing, and and that really, I, once I was able to start writing songs, get in the studio, record these demos, then I got a publishing deal with Garth Brooks Publishing Company. He and Bob Doyle, that's his manager. I started writing for them, and then started writing with Sony as well. So it was just, Nashville was so receptive, and it was, I think, a little easier back then to make those connections. Now, I cannot believe what's happened in our town. The population has just, it's quite packed with people now, and I think it's harder for young artists. So I am just now about to launch She Sings Creative Agency, where I will be working with female artists and helping them navigate through this, through the songwriting process, helping them get the co-writes, working with them with vocal coaching, social media. There's so many things that have to come together for an artist, and I have so many resources that can help them. So that's another thing that I'm, in addition to the touring musical and the documentary series, is it's something I'm really passionate about doing now. Paying forward the songwriting that I was able to do, and the connections that I was able to make, just paying it forward to help others do the same.
Well, I know at a point your pain could have silenced you, but you decided to create She Sings, a sewing musical. So, at what point did you realize that your story needed to become art?
I think that it was really in my in my high school years that I realized, because of what I had been going through. I I knew that that's when I started writing songs, and it was always my plan to put those songs out there. I think once I hit high school and I matured enough to realize that I could have a voice, and that's also the same time period that I was able to just tell my father, no, you're not going to hit me again. I was 16, and I just stood up to him one day. It was not a good situation. He was really angry and ready to come at me, and I just had saved money from waitressing, and I was ready to walk out. And once I stood up to the bully and I just said, "Nope, that's it," everything changed, and he stopped, and he started respecting me for having that courage to be fearless and just say, "No, I'll leave home. I will not live here." So I encourage people, to do that. But it was high school, I think, in answer to your question.
Well, I know that your one woman show has sold out across the country. So, what is it like to stand on stage and share a story that's so deeply personal to all kind of audiences across the country?
So I'm not an actress. And when I perform my show, it's 13 songs and there's narrative in between. And I tell my story. And it's almost as if every time that I perform it, I relive it at some level, and it can be painful to perform it. But then at the end of the show, when people line up, and I've had more people, women especially, come up to me in tears and say, "That's my story. This happened to me. You're validating what I have experienced by telling your story." And being able to tell such a hard story in a beautiful way is, it's an experience like none other. People are sitting right in front of you, and you can feel their bodies go rigid, and then you feel them relax when you're speaking or you're singing a song, and all of a sudden they start dancing or tapping their foot, or sometimes they call out at my show, "You go, girl. Yeah, you got it." It's just every emotion is evoked with that show, where people cry, and then And then at the end, it's just that my story is so empowering of how I overcame everything. I became a Amazon delivery service partner after a horrible divorce and was able to make my own money. And that's really what enabled me to be able to move forward and tour the show, pay for the documentary series myself. And I never thought I'd ever own a home. I own two homes. I bought a restaurant. I ran that for the last 3 years. I recently closed that so that I could really focus. I can't do everything. So I really wanted to focus on the documentary series, the musical, and then doing this new business venture. So stage is just an incredible it's it's so powerful to be able to tell your story and see people heal and watch the healing and feel their emotion because you're so close to them on that stage.
Well, what have you learned about the connection between creativity and healing, and um, how art can sometimes express things that words alone cannot?
Let's take a quick break.
In Kansas, blind vending operators are vanishing without a trace. No bodies, no witnesses, only silence. Detective Michael Miguel thought he had seen everything, but this case pulls him into something far darker, a web of institutional corruption so deep it was never meant to be uncovered. When vulnerable blind people disappear and bureaucracies close ranks, one question remains: who will fight for justice? As Miguel digs deeper, he uncovers a conspiracy reaching the highest levels of power, a system that exploits the very people it was designed to protect. The truth is buried in paperwork, hidden behind closed doors, guarded by those who have everything to lose. Some conspiracies hide in plain sight. This one hides in the dark. Iron Cane Media presents The Blind Conspiracy, written by Mikhail Battles Sr., available now on Amazon.
That's pretty much exactly, you just said it. That's exactly what I do. I use art for healing. And, it could be a painting, it can be art in so many different ways can heal. You don't have to just be a musician or a songwriter. There's so many gardening, a beautiful garden can be healing. And I encourage people to, a lot of people will say to me, I don't have a gift. I don't of course, well, you have the gift. You play piano, you can sing. So you're able to go do these wonderful things. And I tell people, yeah, but you have a gift as well. You just have to, you just have to dig deep and find out what that gift is. And a gift is something that we give away. So music is my gift. And if I were just going to sit at home and play my piano and write my songs and not put them out there, that's not right. The goal with our art and our creativity is to give it away, give it back out there. And I encourage people all the time, find your gift and then give the gift that's been given to you and then give that gift out into the world.
Well, let's talk about your documentary series. She Sings: Surviving the Narcissist. I know you let other women share their stories, so tell us what you can about that, and talk about how listening to their stories has affected your own journey.
Well, in touring the one woman show, I realized that I couldn't fully explain and fill in the blanks from my life in 90 minutes. And it was because of that, the touring show, that I made the decision to transition from that to film. And we started out in Brooklyn, New York with a film crew. And then we filmed in DC, where I had spent significant time. We also filmed out in Los Angeles. We interviewed women during the filmmaking process, and we realized that so many of us are experiencing the same thing. In fact, millions of us around the world are. And uh, that documentary series is an extension of me, but also shows just how vast the issues are that we face. Narcissism is a huge problem. For me, it was my father and then my relationships after that. And thousands of women have reached out to me to tell me that they have dealt with the same, and men as well. So I don't want to just say I'm not a male basher by any means. There are some wonderful, wonderful men out there like you. So that's not. But I think in a general sense, uh, we tend to often as women will give everything up and marry someone or find a partner that it assures us, like, this happened to me. You don't have to work. You can stay home with the kids. I will do everything. You don't worry about the money. And 18 years later, he walked away with everything and left me almost nothing. And I had put all of my faith in that. And through the documentary series, I try to encourage women, especially, make sure that you don't give up your job or your own financial um, independence. Because once you do that, you are at a high risk of getting to a certain age. And in my case, I was in DC Superior Court, and the judge in my divorce trial said, well, you just need to rehabilitate yourself. Those were his exact words. And you've got to figure it out. And yes, of course I do, but I had built my in that relationship, I had helped build by staying home an empire, essentially, a venture capital world. And but then it you'll have to watch my documentary series. It's a riveting story of what transpired over 2 months in DC Superior Court. Uh, I can tell you one of the things which is just crazy is that I had to be my own lawyer because my partner had claimed he was homeless and broke. And he had built this, venture capital firm. And I subpoenaed the banks. We were pro se in court because we had no money for lawyers. And I uncovered the banks turned over to me 4 bank accounts totaling over 20 million that he hadn't turned over in discovery. All 4 of those accounts were in his name only. And I had to personally file a motion. I rode my bike down from my beautiful home in Georgetown to DC Superior Court on a Friday afternoon, about 2 in the afternoon. And within 2 hours, the judge emailed us, motion denied. You should have had this information at the beginning of the trial. I can't stop the trial so that you can go do investigative work on this money. So that's just one part of what went on. He threatened to throw me in jail. I was arraigned in criminal court for sending a text. He got a protective order on me that there was no crime ever committed. I reveal all of this because if I were silent about it, that would be wrong, because I want to warn people of what can happen in our court systems. And it's a problem throughout our country. There's corruption in our court systems, and people don't want to hear that. But the women that I've talked to across the US have been through such similar circumstances. Uh, Protective orders are a weapon that a partner can use. And if you have a great relationship with a judge, which in our situation, his business partner went to Stanford with the judge. So it was definitely stacked against me from the very beginning. And when it comes to money, the person with the power in the courtroom is the person who has the money. And I didn't have the money. I had given all those years to raising children. So it's detrimental and it almost took my life. I definitely fell apart. I had a mental breakdown completely. Eventually, I got breast cancer because of all the stress and uh, knew I wouldn't be able to ever own a home. How do you rebuild? How do you give everything up to be in a relationship? So the documentary series really, I want, I put out there so that women could see this and learn at a much earlier age. I'm sorry, excuse me, at a much earlier age, to make sure that they don't let the same thing happen to them as what happened to me. But I figured it out and I ended up, doing really well and I'm definitely financially secure and but not everyone does that. But I want to inspire people that to know that they can rebuild even after going through something as horrific as what I went through.
Well, I know you founded She Is Safe of CHQ County to support women in abusive situations. So talk about the biggest misconception that people have about people who stay in abusive relationships or situations.
Well, the biggest misconception is that women and men as well, um, they think they can just leave. They think, oh, well, you were beat up. Why didn't you leave? And I've worked closely, personally, with so many women in Chautauqua County, New York, with this very story where they go back. Oftentimes and then they get judged for it. And oftentimes it's financial. Well, who's going to pay for the kids? How am I going to get back out there and how do I take care of my children and get a job um, and and it's also very manipulative where they lure you back in because of the narcissism and oh, I love you and I promise I'll never do this again. And the woman or man will trust the partner and go back and it's a mind game. And I think a big misconception is that you can just leave. And you can't just leave. In so many cases, it takes almost being killed before a person will fully leave. And it can take months and years to finally make that break. So I try to give people a break. And when I see them go back, and I've worked so closely with them and I've helped give them shelter, I've put them in a hotel and given them a week in that hotel and tried to help them financially, give them a job, and then they turn around and go back. I just I can't be upset at them for it. I get it. And I just try to keep loving them and encouraging them. You can do this and we'll just continue to help you and eventually I hope you will make that final break, but it's a tough thing.
Well, I know you faced tremendous adversity, but you've also reinvented yourself multiple times. What would you say to someone who feel like their past has taken away their future?
I would say that there's so many examples of people who have turned it around and to try to immerse yourself in those stories and those learning about how people have done it and try to surround yourself with people who are positive and making changes. Don't stay around negativity or toxicity. Remove yourself from those types of people because it's really who we associate with and the books that we're reading and what we are filling ourselves with. Great music, listen to positive music. uh, all of these things can help a person make that change to become successful. And it's not just financial, success is about peace, really finding peace, and having emotional feeling emotionally and physically even secure in yourself and having that confidence. So it's a process, but I encourage people to try and just keep the all that other stuff away and surround yourself with good things, positive things.
Well, tell us about any upcoming projects that you're working on that listeners need to be aware of.
I think the big one is the what I mentioned earlier is the She Sings Creative Agency. So many people need to have a voice, and with this agency, my goal is to help people write songs and express what they want to say through songs because that's how I have healed. And if music has always healed me, my goal is to help other people heal, especially women. That's who I really want to work with. I've done this for years, but I've never done it under any actual business model. It's just something that I've sat and written with women and men, of course, and help them heal through their writing. But now I want to make it more formal so that we have it out there and can promote it so that it's easier for people to find through social media and that type of thing. So that's what I've been working on right now, as well as we're in talks about the documentary series, and then we're working on getting another tour because I stopped touring the show back in my last show was about 8 months ago. And so we're working on another tour and booking that. So lots to do.
Also, listeners can keep up with everything that you're up to. Throw out your contact info.
Yes. So everything is under one umbrella. It's shesings.com, and that's spelled she, S-H-E, sings, S-I-N-G-S. So shesings.com. My music videos are there. The trailer to the 5-part television documentary is there. Information will soon be there about the creative agency that I am in the process of forming. That should be there within the next few weeks. And yeah, so that's the contact information. And then through there, you can email me through shesings.com. When you go there, you can sign up and then be able to communicate that way.
All right, we'll close this out with some final thoughts. Maybe if there was something I forgot to talk about that you would like to touch on, or any final thoughts you have for the listeners.
Uh, do you have a minute where I could just play a verse and chorus at my piano of She Sings, the song, our
Yeah,
anthem
let's
song?
do it.
Would that be okay?
This is
All
a
right,
highlight reel.
I'm taking my computer down to my Yamaha grand piano, and it's not going to be the best of recording. It's not a recording by any means. I'll just sing it live, but it's very moving, and I hope inspires your listeners uh, just by hearing the song. And it is available on most platforms. It's my music is at Spotify, Amazon, just most of the music listening platforms. You can hear this song and others from my musical.
Absolutely.
There's nothing shallow about her. Sometimes she walks on water. She might be right, might be wrong, doesn't really matter. She's gonna get there. She reaches for precision. Nothing blocks her vision. She lives by the truth that she's been given. She's living when she sings the light. She brings bright into the earth, divides the seas with her own voice and her own key. She makes this world a better place to be when she sings, when she sings. So that's the verse and chorus, and then it does go on. But if you want to hear the rest of it, you can go to shesings.com. My music video is there, or just go to Amazon or Spotify and look up Rebecca Magnuson, and she sings, and you can hear my music.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen, that was absolutely beautiful. So please go check it out. And if you have the opportunity to check out that one woman show in a city near you, please be sure to go do so and check out that documentary when it comes out. Once again, shesings.com. Also, to keep up with all things Living the Dream, please visit www.curveball337.com and share the website and show to everybody you know. Thank you for listening and supporting the show. And Rebecca, thank you for all that you're doing and being such a powerful voice and being so brave to share your story. And thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you, Curtis. It was such a pleasure. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
For more information on the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, visit www.curveball337.com. Until next time, keep living the dream.